deep, deep lessons in this week's parsha. We are finally leaving Egypt. It's called Beshalach. Paro has sent us out. He wants us out, the Hebrews, out of Egypt. And it says that they are trapped at the sea, basically. They have the Egyptians behind them, they have the sea in front of them, and they feel like they're trapped. And Moses is crying out to God. God says to him, "Why are you screaming to me? Tell the Israelites to travel. Tell them to go." And this is where we learn that sometimes we just need to pass through. We need to pass through the challenges, not to be afraid, and go through. We know it says that there's different groups. One of the groups says, let's just go back to Egypt. Let's just become slaves. One group says, let's pray. One group says, let's commit suicide. Let's die. And one group says, let's fight the Egyptians. And God gives an answer to Moses. He says, none of them are right. We're just going through the sea. And you're not going to die. You're not going to be slaves. You don't need to pray. It's on me, basically. There's an interesting teaching in Hebrew. It says, Paro hikriv. Paro, the way they translate it is Paro got closer. But usually hikriv would mean he brought closer. That's what usually hikriv would mean. So what is it saying hikriv? He brought the Israelites closer to God. Through them going through this stressful situation, he actually helped bring them closer to God. And as we've said before, Paro and Mitzrayim, Paro represents the stiff-necked, refusal and rejection of good things. Mitzrayim represents limitations and boundaries which are not good boundaries, because sometimes we need healthy boundaries, but here it's talking about unhealthy boundaries and unhealthy limitations. Mitzrayim is from the word Meitzer, by the way, in Hebrew, which is the border. So the leaving Egypt represented going out of those limitations, going out of those boundaries. So once they get through the sea, we know the miracle of the sea, they sing to God. But right after they got out, they start to worry. They don't have water. They don't have food. So God makes water come from the rock. Moses hits the rock. And then we read about the story of the manna. And the manna is a special lesson here that he sent them the manna of each day. So basically 2 meals a day. That's what they would eat in those days. He would send it every morning for the breakfast and for the evening. And he was testing them. He was making them learn that we need to rely on God. And we always need to pray to God and realize that even if we have, we should know that it's still coming from God. On Friday, they would get manna for 2 days. So, interestingly, if people would leave manna any day for the next day, the manna would go bad. So that was teaching them they can't try to trick God. You got to rely on God every day. And on Shabbat, some of them actually went out and tried to gather manna, and God gets upset of them, and Moses says, why didn't you remind them that they're not supposed to go out on Shabbat? That's teaching us we need to rest on Shabbat. Shabbat, we can't feel like we need to do things. We shouldn't even plan for the week. We shouldn't think of the future. Shabbat, we should be where we are. We should be here on Shabbat. Be in the rest. Be intimately connected to the rest. God bless you all.